All right, guys, welcome back to the shack. Tonight, we're going to be working on a project that my wife has requested for her garden. She used to have a sign there that she had bought. It was a metal sign. Over the years, it is rusted and has kind of had to been thrown away. So she wanted a new farmer's market sign for her garden. So I have used some of the material here that you'll see, which is basically just some thin sliced red cedar, and have created this guy here. Now, one thing that I do think is kind of unique about this video, guys, is we all know that putting things outside, paint fades, sun fades paint. It doesn't matter what kind of paint it is. It's either going to paint, it's going to fade, peel, come off, whatever the case may be. So with this sign, there is no paint used at all on this right here. Just a good old natural black on that cedar. So if you want to know how I did this and the steps that I used to make this sign, stick around and we're going to go over it real quick. First thing, guys, the material that I used in this video did come off my sawmill, and it's a very unique piece of material, but you could do similar projects, maybe not quite this wide, using some cedar fence pickets or some type of cedar panels or planks or boards that you could pick up. And cedar is one of those woods that I have found that does relatively well outside, even if it's not coated, sealed, waterproofed, or whatever. You'll notice this little sign right here. Yes, it's gray, it's bleached out, but guys, this sign has been hanging outside of my shop on the sunny side of the building for about 2 years. And so, as you can see, it's bleached, but it's still in one piece. It's still good and flat. This is some of the same material that I'm using in this case that came from the sawmill. So I got that. I was like, all right, well, so that works. I'm going to use cedar. But the second part was this thing's going to be outside. It's going to be in the garden. Yes, I could paint it. Yes, I could do other things. I could use acrylics. You know, there's lots of ways that I could do it. But as I was trying to decide how I wanted to build this, I thought to myself, you know, instead of painting this sign, you know, there's the original black that has been used for longer than I know of. And that, guys, is basically carbonized wood, AKA soot, ash, whatever you want to call it. So that's what I decided to use on this project to create these letters. And if you'll notice, these guys are crispy. Basically, I have burned the outside top layer of those letters with a torch to the point to where they turn black. Now, I did seal them with a little polyacrylic just to hopefully hold things together and kind of like keep it looking nice, but they should never change color because that is literally basically a lump of coal on the surface of those letters, because I took the torch and charred it to the point to where it's black. So now that you've kind of got the gist of the process, let me kind of walk you through it. I'm going to show you the light burn steps that we use to make it, as well as how I went about getting this burned look on the material. I will be dropping some links down below to Amazon if you're interested in getting some of the tools used in the video or whatever. Those are affiliate links, but feel free to use those to get the tools if you need them. So we're going to start off over here in light burn and walk you through the process all the way up to getting it made, and then we'll be back. All right, guys, so this is rough cut lumber, which means I got to trim this board up. Got a little checking on the ends, which is the crack from where it dried at. Got to get that off of there. And I'm going to cut this down to 16-inch little small boards, just big enough to fit inside the laser and not have a whole lot of wasted space. That's traditionally how I go about it when I'm using my sawmilled lumber. Sometimes you want them smooth, sometimes you want them rough cut, but in this case I want them smooth. So I'm also going to run them through the planer. This is my DeWalt thickness planer, and that just makes sure they're good and flat, because sometimes these things do cup, and it also makes them nice and smooth. I'm going to be cutting this with the Atom Stack A70 Pro. And this is a 70 watt, 35 watt switchable machine, power, Z-axis, autofocus, automatic air assist, all that good stuff. Check down below for a link if you want to check out the machine. It's a beast for cutting. It does a good job on engraving also, but cutting is obviously its game at 75 watts of output. So here with this design, I wanted to do the old classic, you know, interior rounded over corners on this piece. And there's two ways you can do that, guys. You can do, if you want to do it this way with the circles, you can do that. that's the way I've always done them until recently. I had a moment and I'm like, you know what? I bet I could use the other tools to do this. And so instead of using a Boolean like that and just taking a chunk off the corner with a circle, which works, I found that you can also use the radius tool. And instead of an external radius, you can do an internal radius basically, and just set that to whatever depth you want that circle to go. And in this case, I basically created the same look two different ways. You can do it, easily using that tool. So I've kind of got away from using the Boolean tools now that I've figured out how well this works, because you just set it to the size that you want them, and you literally just click the corners and it drops those corners in there for you. Makes that nice, cool, classic sign shape. No extra clicks required. So there you go. If you didn't know about that one, I hope that helps you out. Here, I'm going to do an offset inside of the cut. And what I want to try to do is just give me a little offset to where I can engrave it. And it have like a little black or recessed engraved line around the edge. This is not going to be something I'm going to be doing a whole bunch of. So when I set this to engrave, you'll notice there's going to be a lot of white space on the ends when it's doing the ends right there. But that's okay. This is a one-off. It's not worth me going through the trouble of sitting here and trying to fix this thing to where it doesn't have all that white space in it. But you could. If this was a design I was going to do a lot of, I would do that. But in this case, it's a one-off, and so we're just going to let it ride. The little bit of time that it's going to waste, I'll be doing something else. So you can see right here, that's what I'm talking about. There's that white space in the middle, so it's going to take a little while. This is sped up footage, by the way. I just wanted to show you what I meant by the white space, if you're not familiar with it. So once that got through, guys, went over, and I needed to put the text on there for a marker, so I'm just going to hold that piece down and lift off the scraps, and we're going to move into the text part of this. I'm going to refresh my picture there. You can see my cameras are very effective on my machines, the way I have mine set up, the cameras that I use, and the process that I use to focus the camera and calibrate it. They work really well for me. I hear a lot of people that don't like cameras. I love them. So there you go. The text, I'm using it in kind of a black field look just to get an idea of how the sign's going to look. But I'm going to be changing that over to my red tool line here in just a minute, and the blue tool line for the mark. I'm just going to be putting marks on that material to kind of guide me to stick the letters on there. And one thing that I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to put an offset right there so that the line is inside the actual letter. And I was trying to account for the curve and, put it inside to where when I got the letters lined up, it would be completely hidden. And I suck at math. So, yeah, I kind of made them a little bigger than I had anticipated. But it worked out in the long run. We got the project working. But you can see there, I've got the letters being burned into the piece of material. Those, like I said, are just going to be markers for where the letters actually go. You can see the camera in the right top screen right there. But now this is very sped up footage. All right, so I'm going to get that guy off the laser, and I'm going to throw my pieces in there for the actual text themselves, the letters. And you'll notice that piece of material had a whole bunch of knots in it. The reason I'm using it is because these are going to be, I'm basically taking all these letters, I converted them to a path, and now I'm grouping the ones that are like two parts, like the A's, the R's, and have the different pieces, so that I can slide them without worrying about leaving out the center of an A or the center of the R. And now I'm just trying to nest these guys best I can by hand, avoiding those knots. Case use number 2 for having a camera and not having to, do this manually, because I'm able to take a picture of the work area and throw those guys in there, avoiding the knots, and save myself a whole bunch of time. So, like I said, cameras are my friend. So once I got those cut out, guys, I went out here to my new little torch I've had. I've had it for 3 or 4 weeks. I use it to burn a lot of my brush and, do other stuff. And I got it because I do actually do a lot of heat, like burning of materials and stuff to do color. But this was kind of unique. So I'm getting these guys up to where they almost look like little charcoal bricks. And then, of course, they end up flaming up. But I was prepared for that. So I have my little trusty water bottle. Just going to spritz it with a little water. I let those guys sit out there and dry and cool down for a while, and then brought them in the shop and started gluing them on. Now, the way that I did those, they did get a little hot. A couple of them kind of warped a little bit on me, so it got a little aggravating. So I'm having to weight these things with the weights, give them a few minutes to set, and then I move on to the next one. So it was a process, put it all together. But I probably could have done a little faster if I'd had extra weights. But in the end, I got it done. I sprayed it with a little bit of polyacrylic just to kind of seal off the deal. And let's go check it out, see how it looks, guys. All right, guys, so the sign is in place. Biscuit, do you approve of the sign? Biscuit said he's just gonna chew his bone. But yeah, there we go. Got it mounted to the gate. This is the little makeshift gate that she has for the garden here. It's mostly just to keep the dogs out. It's not much good for keeping much other stuff out, maybe some kids. But yeah. All right, guys, so there you have it. Easy, simple project that anybody can do. You could do this project on a CNC. You could do this project on a scroll saw, even if you wanted to, if you had stencils. There's nothing saying that you can't do this with a number of shop tools. Scroll saw, jigsaw, CNC, laser, you name it. If you can cut the letters out, you can make it. The material that I used, as you can tell, I selectively used this piece of wood with all these knots to cut my letters out of. Oh, that smells great. So I used this piece to cut all the letters out of to avoid those knots, because this piece with all those knots wasn't really good for a whole lot of other stuff. But I did manage to have one extra piece left over to use out of this one piece of wood that I brought down from the sawmill. But I got plenty more of it up there that I can use. I got plenty of logs if I ever get a chance to cut those up. So that's the kind of stuff I like to do around here, guys. I enjoy projects like this. I want to say thanks to my wife, because I was needing a project idea and didn't have one. So she's like, hey, you know what? Make me this sign. And a lot of you guys asked, where do I get my inspiration? There you have it. People asking for jobs, asking for stuff, and I come up with a way to make the project. So if you haven't already, guys, hit the subscribe button down below. I'm getting ready to retire in about 63 days, I think it is now. And I'm going to need all the support I can get from you guys. So hit the subscribe button, stay tuned, and October the 1st, I'm going to be a free man in the shop every day, working on projects and creating content. So until then, be safe and have a good day.